In this channel, I've used AI to make a horror game, a dragon fighting game, and even GTA 6. But in this video, in honor of the World Cup, I decided to take some time and make a simple yet addicting soccer game. First, I needed an idea. The obvious thing is kicking the ball into the goal. But the real issue that I ran into is how can I make this game fun and challenging while still keeping it simple. And then I remembered this one game back in 2009 called Paper Toss. And I don't know if any of you have ever played that game, but it was fun, addicting, and the concept was extremely simple. Drop a comment below if you've ever played it. Anyway, I just remember how addicted I was to it. And now thinking back at it, how simple the concept was. So now that I had this idea, it was just a matter of implementing it and figuring out how I can adjust it so that it becomes a game that is similar to that, but converting that into a soccer game. So I did what any vibe coder would do. I went to Google, I grabbed a screenshot of the gameplay, and then I handed that over to an AI and asked it to build what I was thinking about. And since this is going to be a mobile app, I used AppLLM by Abacus AI because they allow you to create mobile apps easily. And throughout the development process, I can also test it on my iPhone. Not only that, but if you want to publish it on the App Store, they actually handle all of that for you. AppLLM by Abacus AI was actually kind enough to sponsor this video. So if you're somebody who's looking to develop an app, click the link below and check them out. So now that I have my idea and my screenshot, I went ahead over to the AppLLM platform, inserted my screenshot from the Paper Toss game. And because AppLLM by Abacus allows me to use any AI model available, of course I chose Fable 5 to handle this task. So I told Fable 5, do some research on the popular Paper Toss game from 2009 and help me make an app that has a similar game loop and UI, but make it for soccer. The goal will be at a distance, and the goal has a goalie, and the player must calculate the speed of the wind and how hard they are kicking the ball in order to hit the desired area inside of the goal. Make sure to do your research for the best game UI and UX for the FIFA style game inspired by Paper Toss. Abacus got to work on the research and started asking me some questions about what I wanted specifically. This is the moment when I actually pivoted away from the original idea and started to get a better idea of what I wanted in the game. Once I had that idea in my mind, and I basically told it that I wanted to have the player have to curve the ball around the wall of players. So you know in soccer when you have all the players stand on a wall and the kicker has to kick the free kick, have to curve around the ball or over the players in a way that they can score the goal around the wall of players. Well, that's basically the concept that I was going for. So I asked Abacus if I could go ahead and implement that. The player should control the spin of the kick and the angle and the power, and all of those should be calculated using real physics so that the player has to calculate everything to be able to score the goal. That was the main idea to start, and then I figured I would just go ahead and continue to iterate on the idea as the game started getting built out and I started testing it out. So I went ahead and sent that over. Alright, so we got the first iteration of the game, and this is what it was looking like when we first opened it, which you just have to scan that with your phone and it lets you open it on your phone so you can test it to see how the app actually feels. And this is what the start screen looks like, which not impressive at first, honestly. And this is what the UI looks like, which is horrible, but it's a starting concept. Now, after using it and testing it, I could tell that the controls were definitely not the best and it was just too simple, but the app was being built out and the idea was coming together, which is the important part. The next parts are very easy because you just have to iterate on it until you get what you want. This is just a lot of placeholders and the basic concept. So I went ahead and told Fable 5 the UI looks like trash and the physics needs some work, do better. We went ahead and scanned the barcode again and tested on our phone and then opened up on the phone correctly, so that's good. Go ahead and press play. The UI looks way better. So now it has some instructions, how the score works, aim and power, great. All right, so this is a lot better for the UI. So this is the spin. We're able to control the curve of the ball. And then direction, so direction plus spin. So it looks like the calculations for the physics would be correct. You're spinning it to the right, but your direction is pointing to the left. And then the power seems to be increasing the height or the location of where the ball will hit. So this is basically now looking a lot better and getting closer to the final product. The one thing that I noticed here is that we're controlling every aspect So it's way too easy. It's not challenging enough. We need to add some type of challenge to the game to make it to where it's actually hard or increasingly getting harder to score. So there's a couple of ways to do that, but the way that I'm thinking about going about this was to have the slider not controlled by the player, but the slider moves back between both ends, and wherever the player clicks on, that's the type of spin that we're gonna get. And then the player will only have control over the direction of the ball. And then for the power, we're gonna use the same concept as the spin, where the player has no direct control over the power. It would be dependent on where they click when the slider is moving back and forth. So I went ahead and told Fable 5 to do that and implement that idea into the game. All right, and after a few minutes, this is what we got. So we have the same start screen. We haven't changed that yet. Go ahead and press play. All right, so now the spin is gonna be, so we're not controlling the actual location of it. We have to click to lock the location of the spin. So that's going to be a more challenging part. The only part we're actually going to be able to control manually will be this part, which is the angle, the left and right, and the height of the kick. So, and then the power is also controlled similar to the spin. So this is adding more of a challenge for the player. So at this point, I could tell that we're getting somewhere to where it's an actual fun, playable game where somebody would actually get stuck in the loop of trying to score higher and higher. So now that we have this, I'm noticing that we need to start increasing the difficulty of what makes the game challenging, right? So my train of thought here is, if we increase the speed, so the higher that the player gets in terms of the score, the slider will start to move faster and faster, and that will increase the difficulty. And as you can tell, more and more players are actually building that wall, which I don't know if that's actually how it works in soccer, but it makes it more challenging in this game. So went ahead and just left that in. And for the purpose of making the gameplay look better, I actually went ahead and looked for some 3D assets that I could use inside of our game. I needed a soccer ball and I needed the soccer players to look better. So I went ahead and grabbed this soccer ball by this artist. So credit to that person. I went ahead, downloaded in the GLB file, and then used that in the game. And then this is the best soccer player that I could find, and it's a goalie instead of one of the players that sits in the field. So it's gonna be not 100% accurate in terms of having multiple of these goalies build the wall, but it was the best one that I could find. So we're gonna go ahead and implement that one as well. And I'm gonna ask Abacus just to go ahead and use those GLB files and use that for the gameplay. So we inserted the GLB files into the chat here and simply just ask Abacus to use the GLB files in the game. And this is what's gonna make the game look better than just having the flat 2D look to it. And Abacus was successfully able to implement the 3D assets into our game, and it looks much better in terms of how the ball looks. Obviously, these players are way too big, so we have to go ahead and normalize them. So I'm gonna ask Abacus to normalize the players in the game so that they match the rest of the field. Also, I noticed that the ball is spinning, but it's spinning on the wrong axis. So I wanted to spin on the correct axis so that it's spinning to the left and to the right accordingly in terms of what direction the slider is actually moving in. So it's a lot that I'm asking here, but it's, like I said, it all comes down to the small details that will make the game more fun and engaging for the player to play. But so far, I think that this little detail here is what has made this game look much better. So if you're looking to do something similar, just keep this little trick in mind. If you want to make your gameplay look better, just use 3D assets to enhance your gameplay. So I provided the feedback for Abacus and then hit send. And now the game was looking so much better. So the players are finally the right size, but obviously they're facing the wrong way, so that's something that we're going to want to change. Just have them face the right way. And then the spin seems to be spinning on the wrong axis from what I was envisioning. I wanted to spin to the left and to the right on the other axis. So just go ahead and share that feedback with Abacus and have it implement those changes. But other than that, the game is looking awesome and I'm really happy with the UI so far. Now our game is looking awesome. So it's spinning in the right directions accordingly to where the slider is for the spin. The players are facing the correct way and the UI looks awesome. This is a full mobile game at this point. And here we're gonna check to see if the speed actually increases as the score increases. So this is gonna be the part that makes it difficult, and where the game loop happens. So the player, obviously at first, it's pretty easy at first. And I'm not gonna lie, I actually got stuck playing this and just actually trying to beat my previous score. So it does get harder as the score increases. You can see the sliders actually sliding faster for the speed of the spin and the power. The more players that get added to block in terms of the wall, the harder it gets as well. So your gap of where you can actually hit to score becomes smaller. As you can tell here, I was actually struggling to actually make the goal as we got into like 10, 11, and 12. And we have 6 players on the wall and I have a small gap to shoot in. And the sliders are just moving way faster. And I ended up getting stuck at 12. So I was actually trying to see how far I could get, and 12 was how far I got on this little test. One last thing I added was a leaderboard, so you can just use your username, and that way you can track and see who's actually scoring the highest. And I think that this would just add another layer of addictiveness to this game with people trying to compete. So I changed the start screen to have a better soccer ball UI. The leaderboard, the gameplay is already made, and now you can see how high you score, and then you can see other players in terms of like how high they score, and then just continue to compete for that #1 spot. So this is what the UI looks like now. And if you're looking to deploy this on the App Store, AppLLM by Abacus AI lets you do this through their platform by simply clicking on the deploy button. You can either deploy it on the Google Play Store or on the iOS App Store. Now, I don't have an account with Apple to deploy this app, but Abacus handles all of that for you. So if you do have an account, all you gotta do is simply enter your information there and they handle everything else for you. So comment below what you think about this game. Is it addicting enough? Is it something you would find yourself playing? Rate it from 1 to 10. I'm genuinely curious. And don't forget to like and subscribe so you don't miss any of the future videos. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys on the next one.